Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our epic
marathon punk rock epic. It's the Caligula of punk podcasts.
And today
with less
this
horse
podcast. Oh dear!
I bet no one's ever actually watched Caligula, and they want to know why I'm going on about horse fucking.
Well, if they're going to go out and look for Caligula just on the basis there might be horse sex in it, then I'm not sure what to say. So here we are then, part 2. So we did part 1 last week. We had planned the whole thing to be part 1, but I guess we knew deep down inside that on this particular subject we were going to fill up a lot of time.
We were going to just
such an important time.
And on and on and on and on.
Yeah, so we did.
Yes,
so we did.
We did wank on and on.
Anyway, let's crack on with part 2 of our story of UK punk from 1976 to 1982.
My number 6. I've got to go off piece now because you keep picking all my bloody bands. Well, I'll carry on my main list. My next one that you haven't picked was the Cockney Rejects.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I always had a soft spot for the Cockney Rejects. I remember, so the Cockney Rejects were East London West Ham fans, and kind of the not the inventors, but the first oi band, I suppose, which was a term coined by the great Gary Bushell. I'm being sarcastic because I think he's a fucking twat, and and everything he ever wrote, I would quite happily rip up and burn. Awful bloke. Yeah. But anyway, he kind of discovered the Cockney Rejects and invented this new form of skinhead punk, street punk, working class punk, whatever. And called it Oi after a track on their second album, which was called Oi Oi Oi. And they just wrote about, drinking and football and fights and getting nicked down at West Ham. I remember the first time I ever heard them. We used to go to a youth club in March, and they had a record player down there. It was I think it was underneath the church, not in the crypt, not with the bodies, but there was a room, and I remember a guy we know who actually listens to the podcast called Jimmy Green.
Oh, I remember Jimmy Green.
Yeah, and he bought the single down, and the B side, the A side was called Flares and Slippers, but the B side had I want to what was it? Oh, fucking hell! I Want to Be a Star, and it had the song
Police Car.
That's the one. Police Car, yes, and which starts off freedom. There ain't no fucking freedom.
Yeah.
And then whoa! I mean, that was like we were like, what's this? What's this, Jim? And Jim just sat there all smugly going, yeah, it's the new Cockney Rejects single, and we went, oh my god! So Jim kind of won best single ever until a couple of months later when I went over to Peterborough on the train and got the first Dead Kennedy single from Andy's Records. I bought that and I beat him, so I was the king. Anyway, but I digress. So Cockney Rejects did first album it was quite amusing. The first album was called Greatest Hits Volume 1, and they hadn't really even released anything hardly. And they had one of the all-time classic punk singles, Bad Man, which is just glorious. It's the guitar riff. You go back to Gibson guitars. I mean, they had Gibson Les Pauls, I think, and you got that chunky, that kind of that oi sound that Hard Skin parody so well when they make their records. Just this lovely chunky riffy guitar sound, And Bad Man's about, well, just being a bad man, you nick your old man's money and things like that. But classic, you know, just, I mean, the guitar alone is worth buying a record for. It's superb. I'm Not a Fool, that was a second single, I think, after Flowers and Slippers. Flowers and Slippers obviously ruined, the cover ruined by a picture of that twat Bushel on the front as well. Produced by, because he produced it with Jimmy Percy from Sham 69. And then Greatest Hits Volume 1, Greatest Hits Volume 2. By Greatest Hits Volume 3, the con novelty had worn off a tiny bit. That was a live album, I think, with a cover of Blockbuster by Sweet on it. And they're still, well, actually they split up. They kind of split up for ages, and they started playing again. And then they'd had enough. The guitarist and I think it was the original bass player was still together. Mickey Gegas was the guitarist. The lead singer was Stinky Turner, whose actual real name was Jeff Gegas. I think he's his brother. So now, but then they kind of said, "Oh, we're calling it a day." But then Stinky Turner, the lead singer, is now doing it on his own with one of the guys from the Toy Dolls and a couple of other sessions. Yeah, then they're kind of out and about and still playing the songs. But that all got a bit, you know, the whole Oi thing kind of, you know, all got a bit, you know, the skinheads and that all got a bit right wing towards the end. And Bushell didn't help because he was just writing inflammatory shit all the time, you know. And he had this proper chip on his shoulder about working class punk against middle class punk, because he hated Crass, because Crass were, in his eyes, they were middle class, which they were the majority, apart from Steve Ignorant probably. And he had a real, you know, chip on his shoulder about it. Like, you can't be punks because you're middle class. It's like, well, half the original punks were middle class, you know. It was all people from art school. I mean, Joe Strummer was, his dad was a diplomat.
Yeah, there's always been that idiotic factionalism in every movement, and punk was no exception. It was just idiotic.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was, and Bushell was just like, and every, you know, you could tell he would write interviews in Sounds, the music paper, and you knew that half the time he was misquoting people. They probably haven't even done the interview. He's making it all up because it was just an excuse to put in names of other Oi bands who he liked, you know. And there were a lot of them.
Wasn't he in the Business or Foreskins?
No, he was in the Gonads.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they were shit. So fuck off, Bushell. But I mean, the business were great. The Foreskins were great. A lot of the skinhead bands, they were really good.
Yeah,
you know. But it was just his influence on everything. Yeah. I mean, the second Oi album, they had Oi compilation. That was Oi. The album was the first one. The second one was Strength Through Oi, which was a play on words of an old Nazi, a Nazi phrase, "Strength Through Joy." And had a picture of a Nazi skinhead on the front, and it's like, fucking hell, you know, don't make it too obvious. And it was just, it just got all a bit, you know. And then you had the Southall riots. That was Oi bands playing in I think it was a predominantly Pakistani area, and there were it all kicked off, and you know, and of course, it was nothing to do with him. You know, it's like, you know, oh, I don't understand. Whoa, you know. But yeah, so that's the Cockney Rejects in a nutshell. Great band. Yeah, definitely going to put Bad Man on the Spotify playlist that I do for this one. Yeah.
No, good choice. Good choice.
Fabulous.
Good band. Number 6 for me. Oh, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough today, a bit of tickling in the throat.
It's really, really unprofessional, I've got to say.
It won't be by the time I've hacked it all out. I'll just have you look. It should have been at a punk gig, because you could have just got it on the stage, couldn't you? I'm gonna loop you saying it's really unprofessional and run it all the way through like Papas Adrianus.
It's really unprofessional. It's really unprofessional. Oh, I just laughed so much I dribbled.
60, eh? What a year. What an age.
Oh dear.
Okay, number 6. Susie and the Banshees. Okay.
I'll cross them off my list.
Really?
As well. Thanks.
Oh, God.
They were on my backup list.
Oh, okay.
But carry on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Susie and the Banshees, for me, they were kind of inventing post-punk while punk was still going. So they had their first sortie into the world with their first couple of albums, The Scream and Join Hands, doing stuff right from the outset that was not punk in any conventional sense of punk. It was punk in as much as it was very different, but they were always called punk. And I suppose much of the timing and the look and the feel of what they were doing was a bit punk, but the music wasn't really. I think it was very post-punk, very artistic, very clever, very well played and arranged and put together. It was kind of intellectually a step above from a musical perspective, and I don't really know if I'm talking bollocks now because I'm trying to articulate something that I can't really articulate.
I think you're spot on.
Oh, okay,
I think you're spot on. Yeah.
And after those first two albums, then I think they had their golden period, because as good as the first two albums are, I think from 78 with Kaleidoscope all the way through then to A Kiss in the Dream House, they had 4 albums which are absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic albums. And yeah, I think they were creating something again, like some of the other bands we talked about, whether it's Discharge or Rudimentary Peni or The Clash or whatever. They were working in this melee of punk and doing something very different, but staying within the boundaries of punk in some bizarre way. So brilliant, I've got to say. Never saw them live, and I don't know how that happened. The girl I was with at the time was a huge fan of Susie and the Banshees, but even bigger than me. But never in the right.
Would that be Jackie?
Yeah. She's a massive fan. But yeah. I don't know how we missed seeing them live. I don't even remember scrambling back to anybody saying, "Oh, Susie and the Banshees are playing live. Let's get on the train" or whatever. It's weird.
I've got a clue why you didn't see them live.
Go on.
I think because I'm pretty sure we had tickets to see them at the Arena in Peterborough, and they cancelled. And we couldn't make the next. I know I couldn't make the next date. So they obviously put on a month or two later or so. I can't remember, but for some reason I couldn't get to the next date. So whether it was the same for you and Jackie,
it might have been. That sounds familiar.
I'm not sure.
As I say, there's memories a bit of a mush from that time for various reasons.
I'm pretty sure that you'd got my ticket for me as well.
Yeah, that's
so. I could be wrong. I know Jackie has listened to it, so she might be able to let us know.
Oh well, this podcast.
So yeah, she's listened. I know she's listened to a couple.
Oh right.
So Jackie, why didn't we get? Am I right? That is the. But I think you're right with Susie the Banshees. I think you have to include them in punk because Susie was there at the beginning of punk.
Yeah.
And it was punk that inspired them to start a band, and by the time they kind of released Hong Kong Garden was 78 I think. Yeah. So it would have still been in our first throes of punk just about.
Yeah. But you got before that got Staircase Mystery and Love in a Void and
yeah, absolutely.
Some ferocious records really.
Yeah, they've done Peel sessions. Yeah. I think they've done a Peel session, maybe 2. And also you have to remember that you had the core of the band was Susie and Steve Severin.
Yeah.
You had John McKay and Kenny Morris, the drummer and guitarist, who were quite unique in their styles. And then they left, and you had Robert Smith and The Cure played for a while, and Budgie the drummer. Budgie came in as drummer, and then after Robert Smith had enough, you had John McGeoch, who, as I said when I spoke about Magazine a few weeks ago, is one of the greatest post-punk guitarists ever. So you had such a creative force behind everything they did.
Yeah.
That it's no wonder that everything was so fantastic.
Yeah.
How could it be anything anything but.
No, it was brilliant.
Really.
It was brilliant, and they weren't repeating themselves. Again, a lot of punk at the time, and we've said it already. You know, certainly as you move through the 80s, there was a lot of derivative stuff. You know, let's sound like Discharge, let's sound like One Way System or whatever.
Yeah.
But Susie and the Banshees didn't fall into that kind of repeating what they'd done before. Everything still sounded like Susie and the Banshees, and everything still fitted within that punk / post-punk basket. But they weren't ever repeating what they'd done before, which was, you know, a real testament to the songwriting skills and their compositional structural abilities, as well as just their ear for music, their ear for great music.
And their image was, I mean, Susie's image. I mean, how many? I mean, it's the archetypal goth girl, isn't it? You know, that is Susie and the Banshees. I remember when Lily went through a bit of a goth stage with the black eyeliner. I said, look, you know, this is why you. I showed her a picture of Susie. This is why you're wearing your eyeliner like that, you know.
There was a time
she was an absolute trailblazer, wasn't she?
Yeah, and there was a time you'd go into any city centre and you'd see half a dozen Susies standing around, like you'd see half a dozen Watties from The Exploited with their Mohicans and that. It was one of those iconic images.
Yeah. But you still see more Susies now than you do Watties from The Exploited.
This is true.
You know, I was out yesterday with Annie, my youngest, and we went to something to eat. There was a goth girl in there, black eye makeup, you know, Susie and the Banshees, Susie Sue. It's, you know, and if you'd have said to her, "Oh, do you like Susie the Banshee?" She'd go, "What?" Hey? Yeah. But you know, it's irrelevant. That's it's just carried on that whole image.
But I don't think Susie. I don't think Susie would embrace, or should she, the label of goth, because the music isn't what I would think of as gothic music.
No, I think they had some influence on the goth bands.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was vice versa. I think a fair bit of punk. Probably a lot of punk. Punk image had a lot of to do with the goth image. You know, lots. I mean, the black. I mean, everyone wore black.
Yeah.
And you had. I mean, and the Cure. I mean, the Cure came out of punk. Although I were never a punk band, I don't think. You know, Susie. I mean, as I say, we've kind of just spoken about why we'd call them. You know, why we keep them with the punk bands. I think, you know, as it went, we'll have to do a goth special. We'll do a goth special for Halloween week.
I'm not dressing up as a vampire. I'm not on camera.
Just to be cliches, I'll do a promo video with my Halloween clown mask on that I used to wear every year when I went out with the girls trick or treating.
Oh.
Daddy, are you wearing the clown mask again? Yep, I certainly am. Oh bloody hell.
I always go out with my grandson, and I always go the same, because I thought I've spent the best part of £100 on a plague doctor suit. I'm going to wear it until I don't fit it anymore.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
So we're agreed, then another one we agree on. So no great surprises that we got lots that we're agreeing on. Susie and the Banshees, definitely one for the list.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm kind of surprised that we've agreed. I mean, I'm surprised at Susie and the Banshees, that we both picked Susie and the Banshees. I'm not sure whether I expected you to pick them or not, to be honest. I had a feeling you were going to come up with bloody Discharge.
Of course.
But UK subs threw me as well. That was... So we're now up to number 7, aren't we? So that was Susan and Banshees. So now my number 7. So after a bit of faffing, because you keep picking my bands, I'm going for the Slits. Number 7, the Slits. So Slits, kind of the first all-girl punk band, weren't they? Really?
Probably.
I think so the Slits were Ari Up, who was the lead singer. Tessa Pollitt was the drummer. Viv Albertine was the guitarist, and Palmolive was or was Palmolive was the bass player, wasn't she? Drums. Sorry, I got them the wrong way round.
Yeah.
So yeah, and kind of started very early on in the in punk history. I mean, Ari was 14 when they first started playing gigs. Ari's mum was married John Lydon, Johnny Rotten.
Yeah.
In later years. So they all kind of knew each other. I think Viv Albertine went out with Mick Jones for a while. I think Palmolive went out with Joe Strummer. They were good friends with the Clash. I think Bernie Rhodes managed them for a while. Bernie Rhodes being the Clash manager. And when they first started out, they were just, they freely admit that they had no idea what they were doing. It was very. I think Viv Albertine said in one of her autobiographies that it was very rare that it all stopped at the same time, which I thought was really amusing. But they were great. I mean, they were groundbreaking girls. I mean, there's lots of. There's a really good documentary about them. There's also Viv Albertine's books. There's a great autobiography of them by Zoe. I can't remember her name. Who wrote I think she wrote the Polystyrene one as well. And they were proper rule breakers. They were girls for a start, and as we said earlier, I mean, the late 70s weren't exactly girl friendly. Really, there was a lot of sexism, a lot of misogyny around. But they got it together. As I say, they admit they weren't very good. But when they finally recorded their first LP, Cut. Oh my God, what an LP! It's superb. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of reggae influence in it, and it was produced by Dennis Bovell, one of the great reggae UK reggae legends. Played in Matumbi, various other reggae bands, UK reggae bands. Was a well-known producer. Top bloke. He's still going today, and he said, I mean, there's some really good interviews with him about the working with the Slits, where he kind of said he didn't really know what they wanted him to do, and he didn't know how to handle them because they were quite bonkers, really. But they made this LP, they made this the LP Cut, and and it's a classic of that punk time, really. Just kind of, almost ramshackle, but so exuberant and so innovative, really. Almost accidentally. Harry went to play in New Age Steppers. Viv Albertine. Viv Albertine's she speaks about in her autobiographies where she left music for a long while and then started making a few solo albums. I think Palmolive went on to the Raincoats
and Spiz Energy.
Oh really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Spiz Energy, one of my favourites as well.
Oh,
not
brilliant.
on the list, but one of my favourites.
Yeah. Were proper. They were proper feminists. The album cover for Cut, they're just there in loincloths, covered in mud, stark naked, but for these loincloths, and just looking positively feral, and just raging. And you look at this one, whoa! It's quite a scary, image. They look as if they're about to take you all on, and I've no doubt that they could as well. But yeah, great band. They had, they benefited a lot from Budgie joined, who later went on to Susan the Banshees, as we mentioned earlier.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, fantastic drummer. And he kind of, I think he kind of pulled it together, really. Because he was a superb drummer, still is. I saw him drumming for John Grant not long ago. I saw him in Cambridge, and I saw the Slits supported the Clash when I saw it. It was proper, eye opening. He's like, what the fuck's going on? It was absolutely amazing. But yeah, it's such a brilliant album. And they went on to record. They did Return the Giant Slits. I think was the next LP. That was proper reggae. Dub reggae. That was. They did the cover of Typical Girls. They heard it through the grapevine. It did the Typical Girls single. There's a really good film that Don Letts made of them around 77, 78, just being the Slits. It's fantastic, and just the looks on people's faces when you see these this pack of girls walking down the street, and they're just like, it's a mixture of disgust, shock, terror. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And putting it into context, as I say, 1978, 79, when we were still in stuffy old England. Where girls were still, to a degree, bound for the kitchen sink, but they were. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, that was the convention,
secretary,
wasn't it?
your secretary, or you worked in the factory. And it was still trying to get away from those, from those shackles at that time.
Punk was a great liberator, wasn't it?
Punk was, yeah.
It really was an opportunity for people who would otherwise have just drifted into that conventional life through academia to mortgage and family and pension and death or retirement or whatever, to actually kind of have an opportunity to think, actually, that doesn't have to be the way. And whether you are a man or a woman, or whether you are a kind of, I don't know, black or white or whatever, you could have a decent life doing something different and treating people decently, irrespective.
Absolutely. And I mean, and the whole point of punk was as Mark Perry said in Sniffing Glue, here's one chord, here's another, go and form a band.
Yeah.
Because that was, you could just do that. You picked up a guitar, you learned a couple of chords, and as your mate would go, like we did with Cataleptic Fate. I mean, none of us knew how to play any bloody instruments, and we were
not at all,
and we were shit. But we had spirit. We had spirit, and we bothered to do it. That's the thing, and that's the whole thing with punk. It was getting off your arse and going and doing things. And as I say, anyone could do it.
An incredible spectrum of musical styles came out of it as well. So we can talk about that kind of stripped down reggae percussive noise that the Slits were making, all the way through to Discharge or Crass or the Clash. They're such different bands, but they're all punk.
Oh, totally, yeah, totally. And then you did have that, and then you as we say, you then drifted on. You had new wave, and you had post punk. You then had goth. You had, and all of these genres and subgenres and subgenres. All.
Is that your cat want to go out?
No, my cats are fighting. I just have to flick an ear and turn up packet. I'm doing a fucking podcast. I'm a professional. You fucking felines. God's sake.
I'm a professional.
I'm the star. It said so in that video. Don't look at me like that, bloody cats. Christ. Anyway,
dear.
Yes.
So that's
my cat handling.
Yes, very
show.
Impressive. Very impressive indeed. I'm sure there are lots of lessons to be learned from your enlightened cat handling. A flick of the ear.
Yeah, and lots of shouting. Will you fucking stop? Jesus, bloody cats.
Ah, dear.
Anyway,
okay.
so that was the Slits. I think I've covered the Slits.
I think you have. Okay, so that segues nicely into my number 7, because John Lydon, you've mentioned the connection there, and we've already talked about John Lydon as he previously was Johnny Rotten, but my number 7 is Public Image Limited. And Are you crossing it off a list?
No, I'm
Okay.
just. I debated whether to include Public Image, and I didn't know if they fell under punk or post punk.
Exactly. And it was Susie. When I put Susie and the Banshees on the list, it kind of struck me as, well, what's so different? You know, they both emerged at about the same time. You know, and they both carved an entirely new direction. They both had different musical styles to what was happening in punk as we understood it at the time. Neither of them had fierce ideological messages to get across. They're very similar, I think, and they're both post-punk in many respects. Susie has been persistently called a punk, and Susie and the Banshees a punk band. So I thought, well, you know,
I think she's ready to be called a punkette as well.
Well, punkette,
because,
possibly.
You know, because sexism.
Sexism and all of that. Like, I've never called her a punkette, I don't think. But I thought, you know, from a band perspective, there's not enough difference for me to warrant saying, well, Susie should go in, but Public Image shouldn't come out, because it shouldn't, because I think they're both great bands. So I put them in after much humming and hawing, and there they are, like it or not. So Public Image Limited, after the Pistols split up, after their brief flaring of light, and everything was falling apart for them after America and so on, in 78, John Rotten decided he was no longer going to be Johnny Rotten, and he reverted back to his given name, Johnny Lydon, and formed Public Image Limited with an entirely different concept in mind. So beyond all of the shock and awe and media hype and big labels and stuff that was going on, characteristic of Sex Pistols, Public Image Limited was essentially a much more honest band, because it was really just expressing himself through music that didn't have to shock and awe and sell newspapers. And it was a more honest sound, and for me, a much more interesting sound, and in fact, a fucking fantastic sound. So 78's first album, first issue, is just one of the greats for me. Attack, Religion, Annalisa, Low Life. It's just one of those tracks, one of those albums that there's no filler in there. It's got some weird ones on there, Fodder Stomp and things like that are a bit weird, but still really good, really interesting. Then hot on the heels comes Metal Box, and Metal Box was jaw-dropping both musically and physically, because we used to get in kind of punk records, black and white cover, pay no more than $1.99. They'd run a 200 off the local pressing plant, quick as you like, and that was punk, DIY and all of that rolled up. And here we got Metal Box, which was literally that, you know, a metal kind of film canister with three 12-inch discs in it, which was, was just totally out there. And the music as well, and Pop Tones and Careering and Radio 4, just whole sides of unexpected, really interesting, really well put together post-punk. I think I even remember Death Disco. I think it did Death Disco on bloody Top of the Pops as well.
It was
bloody amazing.
Yeah.
So absolutely fantastic. I think, you know, I was losing the support of those around me with Flowers of Romance, because I thought Flowers of Romance was a fucking great album as well, but it came in for a lot of negativity, and I don't think that was just in the press. People around me I don't think were quite into it as much as I was, but it was just after Flowers of Romance, I think, that a group of us had seen them for the first time down in Hammersmith Palais, and that was an awesome gig, from what I can remember, which, as usual, isn't a great deal.
Oh dear.
I know. What can you say? You can't go back. But those first three albums, the whole concept, the style, the approach, the attitude, the packaging, everything, I thought was absolutely brilliant. I think shortly after that, like so many, whether it's a matter of the listener changing and moving on, or whether the bands really start to lose their way a bit, but you know, with all that album and This Is Not a Love Song and commercialization and so on, they kind of lost me. It's not to say they didn't remain great, because I've seen them several times since that 83 or whatever it is time at Hammersmith, and two of those gigs were among the first gigs I took my kids to, and there's something very special about being at the front of a gig with your teenage kids for the first time, and they're helping you up when you get knocked out. They're acting all protective. I went to a discharge gig with my daughter, and she spent most of the time trying to work out why people were hitting me and I was hitting them, and it was all great fun. Just very bizarre. But yeah, it's a great introduction to live music, public images. And when I took them the first time to Manchester, which must have been about 15 years ago or something. It would have been, because my daughter, she would have been 17, so about 13, 14 years ago. They did like 2.5 hour set, and it was all recorded, and they played the whole of the first album, and I think pretty much all of Metal Box as well. It's absolutely stunning, and it was all recorded, and they were selling CDs of that gig that night.
Oh yeah, I've seen, yeah.
It was brilliant. But yeah, I think Public Image did not punk, I don't know, but punk enough to qualify for being on best punk bands of the time, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I like I say, I did debate on whether to put Public Image on the list and didn't. But yeah, I'm glad you, because I feel the same. Those first two albums were just amazing. I had Metal Box. In fact, I'm pretty sure I bought my copy of Metal Box off Jimmy Green, who we were talking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I sold him my copy. I can't remember. It's one of the two.
So you say the first two albums as well. So you weren't a big fan of Flowers of Romance?
No, not at the time. I liked the single. I thought that was great, but I didn't quite get it. Although, having said that, I was listening to it not long ago, and I really enjoyed it because I bought that Record Store Day version of the first album. They did a US version, and they'd re-recorded all the songs during the Metal Box sessions to release the first album in America. So totally different mixes and versions. And it's really good. Yeah, it is really good. I found Rotten Leiden a bit tedious after that. And I still do now.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Although weirdly, I just bought tickets to go and see them next January at the Junction, purely because I've never seen them live, and I really think I should at some point.
They do play well. I mean, they're professional. Obviously,
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it will be really good. But I just, it's like at some point around, as you rightly put, around the This Is Not a Love Song, he just disappeared up his own arse. Yeah. And I don't think he's ever resurfaced.
No, he's got delusions of great grandeur, and I think he's a bit pompous.
He's very pompous, and he's got a very high opinion of himself that I don't think he's totally worthy of. And all this thing about like I said about the Pistols and Frank Carter, it's just a karaoke, and it's like, well, it would be fucking worse if you were singing, to be perfectly frank, because because it just would. I mean, I didn't see any reunion gigs, but I've seen the videos of them, and he's just like, it's obviously he's in it for the money. Steve Jones said it was a fucking nightmare. So yes, I agree. They were totally innovative. Weirdly, Jar Wobble the bass player did a re-recording, like a dub version of Metal Box. Did you hear it?
Yes, wasn't it brilliant? It's superb. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
I just loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I kept meaning to go and see it live, but every time he played a show doing it, it bloody clashed with something else I was going to, so I never got round to seeing him do it live. But I would imagine that it's brilliant. And weirdly, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why Jimmy Green keeps
not again.
I'm sure he went to one of the gigs. I'm sure I saw it on his Facebook profile that he went along. And he's Jim Green now. He's grown up because he's now he's either 60 or nearly 60. He goes by Jim Green. So I'm really sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to keep calling you Jimmy.
Is he still in the March area?
I've no idea, but I'm sure
right.
he will let me know, or he will let us know on the. He does comment on the Facebook page, so I'm sure he will let us know where he is. I think he may well be actually. See, that might be the next might be the next reunion. We can meet up. We've met up with Neil. We'll meet up with Jim in the.
Are we going to pick them all off individually? Are we?
Yeah. Well, Weatherspoons obviously need the business. So that's a date. Me, you, Jim Green, in Weatherspoons in St Ives at some point. Oh, brilliant.
Oh, gosh.
So that was your number 7, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Okay, so now I've got to pick from my list. I've got some on the list. I don't quite know who to pick, but I think for number 8, I'm going to go a bit off-piste, and I'm going to pick the Lurkers.
Oh, I expected you were going to have them.
I always loved the Lurkers. I just thought they were a great, fun band. In the kind of the in the vein of the Ramones, really. They just did great punk rock. Like 3-chord punk rock. So they were formed in '76. They just signed to Beggars Banquet. I think they were kind of from the the pub rock circuit. I would imagine. Had a guy called Esso in fact, Stuart Pearce, the footballer, is a massive Lurkers fan. I just remembered that. So it's Pete Stride on guitar, Esso on drums, Nigel Moore, Howard Wall, I think I think that's who they were. I think the first song I really remember of theirs was I Don't Need to Tell Her. And I know that wasn't the first single. Anyone listening who wants to pick me up on that, I know it wasn't, but I just remember I don't need to tell her I'm a super fella. I mean, it's just so easy. In fact, the Lurkers are on the 20 of Another Kind LP as well. I think, is it Shadow on there?
I don't know.
Shadow. Basically, this was like, Shadow kind of went Shadow. It was pretty basic. Ain't Got a Clue was the second single, I think. But yeah, I Don't Need to Tell Her. It's just one of the great kind of, forgotten punk singles, I think. They had a couple of albums, Fulham Fallout, and what was the other one? God's Lonely Men, I think. And just great fun. Apparently, their gigs were really violent as well. They played at the played at the Arena, and on the tour when they did one of their singles. I can't remember what it was now. Just 13, it might have been. That sounds dodgy for a start, doesn't it? There were lots of dodgy singles. Stranglehold was about only 13, but oh so sweet, and just 13. But it was the 70s, so what do you do? Fucking hell! But yeah, they were really good fun, and apparently the gig at the Arena there was a proper massive scrap in the middle. I was like, fucking glad I didn't go. That was the other thing. I remember them. They appeared on. We always go on about how little punk there was on TV, and one of our little projects, I think, is to do a quick maybe a supplement
TV
about
music.
About TV music on TV. But there was a program called Revolver that came out in around punk times, and Peter Cook introduced, that we can kind of go into more detail at another point. But they played on that, and they did I Don't Need to Tell Her on that, and they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Weirdly they did a greatest hits album called Greatest Hit, which Greatest Hit, Last Will and Testament, I think it was called. And they had they did a cover of, oh god, it gets worse. They did a cover of Then I Kissed Her called Then I Kicked Her. So fucking hell. So I'm kind of regretting, I'm regretting this.
Yeah. I think I've got "Drag You Out" single, and that's got a cover which is a semi-clad half a woman. So yeah, it's very much of the time, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of that. But I think they're going out. And so if I remember, oh God, I'm going to say if I remember rightly now, but I'm pretty sure that the first bass player was called Arturo Basic. And there was a punk documentary back in the 70s that he appeared on, and then he left, and I think all the subsequent ones were done with the lineup that I spoke about, and then the Lurkers are still going, but the only member from the original is Arturo Basic, who was only in them for about two fucking singles. So they've all split up, gone their separate ways. He came back in at some point, and now he's the only original member of the Lurkers, or something like that. I saw them support. I think they supported the Anti-Nowhere League or something, and they were all right. But you know, I don't even think they did. I Don't Need to Tell Her. I was really disappointed. It's like, but you fucking what? Come on, chaps! I was ready to sing along. See, that would have been a good one to do for the karaoke on holiday. I don't need to tell her I'm a super fella. Yeah, that would have gone down there to chuck me over the fucking cliff into the sea, I would imagine.
And rightly so.
Yes, who could blame him? But yes, so that's kind of my. I suppose that's my punk guilty pleasure, really. Actually, no. My number 10 will be my punk guilty pleasure. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what that is yet, but
that set me thinking. That set my mind spinning.
You may well want to kick me in the nuts really hard when I come up with that one.
Okay, well, I can't add much to the Lurkers because I don't own loads of Lurkers records, and I like the records that I've got, but for some reason I haven't kind of dug any deeper. I think it's one of those things like today, you know, there are records by the hundreds every week that you could buy quite happily, but if you had either the cash or the time to listen to them. So some of these bands, they do end up with incomplete catalogues in your collection. But a good band, good choice. Okay. What am I on? What are we on? Number 8.
Number 8. Yes.
Number 8. Okay.
Or this is number 9. Who went? I went first. Yeah, it's number 8. Sorry. Yeah.
Number 8. This is a band who are on my list, punk band who are on my list. I don't actually like their records all that much, but there's a.
I can't wait to hear this one.
And I should, there's nothing wrong with this. The Newtown Neurotics.
Okay.
And, I've got a handful of their records. I don't listen to them all that often. I think on record, their sound is a bit tame. Their sound quality is a bit weedy. I don't listen to them very often. But they're on the list because they're bloody great live, and I have great memories of being with my little gang, my little group at the time, going off to see them, and sometimes seeing them and sometimes not seeing them because you're pissed and having fun and messing around. Just great times with Newtown Neurotics in the background. Newtown Neurotics songs were also great sing-along songs. So whether you're at a concert or whether you've just been kicked out the Red Lion and you're on the way, you've got to stagger on the way to the next party or home or whatever, you could sing, Kick Out the Tories or Bored Policeman or Living with Unemployment or whatever, because we all know all the words and they're totally singable, and you could all just have a great walk home or to the next party or whatever. So they're there for that as well. They were very... to use a bit of a Rick Maylism, right on. They're very left wing and knew what they were talking about and knew what they were saying, so they were good for that. And on top of that, I hate to come back to the Frantics again, but we played with them a few times, and they're a great bunch of lads, and we had a great time. I remember on one occasion, because I'm not a very good drummer and I was usually drunk anyway, I split my knuckles on a cymbal and I was using their drum kit. So we used to share drum kits, and whoever got set up first, and using their drum kit. and laws of physics and biology, when you're playing the drums and fling your arms and you cut your knuckles, everything got covered in blood. So it's about blood all over his drum kit. And I can remember feeling, even in my kind of pissed, adrenalised state, feeling a little bit kind of guilty and ashamed. But he came over at the end and he thanked me. He thought it was fantastic that his drum kit was now covered in blood. It was very cool. so all those reasons, the memories with my mates at the time, and the gigs we went to, playing with them live, and the sing-along ability. As I say, records not so great, but Newtown Neurotics just happened to form a big part of the enjoyment that I had in the early 80s.
Excellent, yeah. They were a great band. I remember the Newtown Neurotics. I saw them support Billy Bragg at some point in, I can't remember where, but yeah. And they were a great band. I remember the singles. I had, I can't remember. I had one with a red cover, one with a black and white cover. I honestly can't remember what they were.
This is very uncharacteristic for you to not know not only the title but the catalogue number.
I kind of, they're one of those bands that I appreciated, but never really had the time to listen to. A bit like, like you say, yeah. I didn't have the funds to buy everything that they released. So they did kind of get past me by a tiny bit. I mean, I'm very aware of Kick Out the Tories because I used to post it up on Facebook every time I was fucked off with the Tories when they were in power. And I know they did a cover of Blitzkrieg Bop. Well, that might have been the single I had. I might have had the Blitzkrieg Bop cover. I think that was the one with the red sleeve.
Yeah, could be.
So I unusually, I'm not really that au fait with them. But I do know they were good, and I know their politics were great. It was Steve Jurek was the lead singer, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, didn't they come from around here somewhere? Then were they Essex or?
Oh, they weren't far away.
Were they Harlow?
From the Flatlands. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Harlow.
I think so. Yeah.
So I can't really add anything, I'm afraid.
They used to play a lot of their gigs would be Attila the Stockbroker on support.
Yes,
so they were close with Attila. I think he actually appeared on one or two of their records.
Quite possibly, yeah. I still see his posts on social media quite regularly.
It's a strange man. Man. Oh, he's funny. He's fun. He's got a really distinctive vocal tone, and his they're not songs. His pieces of kind of anarchic poetry. They're great. Yeah. I can't really add anything, I'm afraid. That's fine.
So that was your number. Oh, for fuck's sake, I've lost. Yeah, number 8. So yeah, it's weird when we talk about these bands and how they all sounded so tinny. It does seem quite endemic. With there are a lot of bands who their recordings don't really stand the test of time, do they?
I think because it was all DIY and because there weren't a lot of money, they were using cheap studios and probably not great equipment and probably not the best engineers, and perhaps maybe in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose. I did notice when the Crass catalogue was remastered, it sounded amazing. The remasters. Yeah. So I mean, it's a pity that some of these. I mean, perhaps I'll have them. We just haven't had the time to actually explore. I mean, because I always thought the Buzzcocks recordings were always brilliant. They were great.
They're very clean. They're very crisp, and as they should be. They don't have the punch that GBH or Killing Joke had. No,
but their remasters.
But that wouldn't have been right.
Yeah, their remasters are very good. I hope they do. Some of this more obscure stuff. It is ripe for remastering. So. Number 9, I'm a bit torn really because like I say, you fucked me over by picking some of my. So I did do this list, and I know I've got my number 10, but I'm a bit stuck on who to pick for. Because there's a couple I could pick. I'd like to
go on. Then who have you got to select?
Well, I think the bands I've still got written down are the Jam, because I mean, the Jam started as a punk band. I did love the Jam, and I do still think they're. But I think Paul Weller's a bit of a twat now. So that kind of, and I think he called Robert Smith a fat twat or something, which
did he?
And that really fucked me off. So
I didn't like his kind of it's all cool, guys kind of thing.
Fucking.
And the fact that he seemed so unnecessarily miserably hard on Foxton and
totally,
Buckler.
totally. And the fact that he refuses to play Jam songs, I think is quite insulting to
Pompous.
Jam.
He's a bit of a Johnny Lydon, isn't he?
He is a bit, and he likes the fact that he's the Jam fans are still. I mean, Jam fans are probably his core audience still. But he plays like the same 4 fucking Jam songs all the time, and it's just like, oh fucking hell, Paul. My mate Gary's going to hate me for that because he really likes Paul Weller. So there was the Jam, and then I had Penetration, who.
Oh gosh, right.
But I kind of like Pauline Moe and the Invisible Girls more than Penetration, and they don't fit the category. So now, and I'm torn now between. Kind of older and slightly newer, so I'm torn between X-Ray Specs and Angelic Upstarts.
Oh right, okay.
Which is
two. That's a tough one.
That's two completely opposite ends. Really, of the spectrum, isn't it?
They're all very different, really.
Yeah.
There's quite a bunch, a mixed bag. I'm not gonna make a suggestion. I'd be happy for you to talk about any of those.
As much as I love Angelic Upstarts, I think I have to go for X-Ray Specs.
Yeah, okay.
Because they were, I mean, they kind of saw, conquered, and went, really, didn't they? They burnt it relatively quickly. I could have had the adverts as well. Bugger, I didn't think of the adverts.
Oh yeah.
The adverts are always worth talking about as well. But X-Ray Specs. I mean, classic singles. I mean, they were a singles band as well. I always thought. Although, I mean, German for Adolescence is a great LP, but I think singles wise, you got "Oh Bondage Up Yours," Day the World Turned Dayglow, Identity, which was my all-time favourite X-Ray Specs. And then you've got, I mean, obviously Germ Free Adolescence. And then did they do I can't remember if they did a second album or not, to be honest. They did that. There was another single that I remember. But anyway, X-Ray Specs, Polystyrene, and she kind of booked the trend as well, She was, I think she was kind of mixed race, wasn't she? She had braces on her teeth, had a very identifiable style of singing, and they also had saxophone, which was kind of, Laura Logic on saxophone originally, and a great band. I mean, those singles are amazing, and the subject matter as well. You're talking about the subject matter of Newtown Erotics, subject matter of X-Ray Specs. It was all lots of feminist kind of screeds and songs about identity, i.e. identity. Lots of things about consumerism as well. And she was great. She was a really, really unique person, personality in punk. She's in I think she's in there's a couple of old punk documentaries, aren't there, made by a German guy, I think Punk in London and Punk in England, and I think she pops up in one or both of them.
There is an X-Ray Specs documentary.
Yes, made by.
I'm trying to remember what it's called.
I think her daughter made it. And I can't remember what it's called. Quick, Google it. Pretend we know everything.
I can't work Google that quickly.
Pretend we're not quite as useless as we appear sometimes. I've seen the documentary, and it's very good. And I still can't remember what it's called either. But yeah, that was excellent. And sadly, she died it was quite a while ago now. He died of cancer.
It's over 10 years ago. Yeah.
And the same with Harry Up. Harry died of cancer as well. And again, a while ago. We're back to that, well, it only seems like 5 minutes ago, but it's quite some time. But yeah, great band.
But again, very distinctive.
Oh,
very
absolutely,
distinctive. And nobody else sounded like that before or after. And I don't just mean Polystyrene, who, as you say, had a very unique vocal style, but the band as well. They weren't like anybody else, but still absolutely punk.
Yeah, totally punk. And I loved X-Ray Specs. And I'm glad I picked them. I do love Angelic Upstarts as well, but I've gone for X-Ray Specs.
I used to have a terrible habit of getting Cockney Rejects and Angelic Upstarts mixed up.
Oh,
I think it was just because I think it's just because it was initially it was this is punk, this is where I am, and there's an oi thing going on over there, and there's some great records coming out, but I'd kind of get them mixed up. I went to see.
I wouldn't lump Angelic Upstarts in with the oi thing. I think they got caught up in it, but they were a lot big. I mean, Little Towers was 78. That was released, I think, wasn't it? Murder of Little Towers.
I don't know, possibly. Yeah,
that was. That was a great. And they were very political. Angelic Upstarts, totally political.
Well, I went to see, and I think it was Angelic Upstarts. I went to see at the Sea Cadet Hall in Cambridge. We got there, and it had been called off because Screwdriver had stabbed somebody or something the night before, or something like that. And it was so we shuffled around outside the Sea Cadet Hall a bit, and then came home.
Fair enough. Yeah. Don't blame you. Yeah.
Something like that,
they were great bands, Angelic Upstarts. Pity we can't fit them in, but just have a little bit. So enough to
they can't mention.
Enough to put a song on the playlist. I think I'll add. I've got to add Teenage Warning. Teenage Warning is one of the great punk singles.
It is a great song.
It's a great album as well. And I never had nothing. I mean, they did a string of awesome singles as well. String of great singles. But yeah,
you're getting your money's worth at your number 9, aren't you?
I'm so fucking sneaky. I'm so sneaky.
Oh gosh. So X-Ray Specs then. Yep. Okay. My number 9, Conflict.
Of course.
Conflict. So I picked up Live at Central Iberico 7-inch from Keith's Punk Singles box.
Was that on Crass Records, or was that the first one on More Hate?
That I think. Oh gosh, now you ask me. I can't reach it to go and pick it up. But
the house that Man built was on Crass, wasn't it?
Possibly. You're much better at which ones went, because Conflict recorded on quite a number of different labels. They started More to Hate, which was their own label, and they had a few releases on there. Probably their best 2 albums were on More to Hate, Increase the Pressure and The Ungovernable Force.
Fucking hell.
They're fucking fine albums. But then they did stuff on Crass label, then Corpus Christi, which was another Crass label offshoot.
That was UK Decay. Recorded on Corpus Christi.
They nearly made it to my list.
UK
Decay.
Great band.
But again, very unpunk sounding most of the time. But anyway, yes. We'll get a UK Decay track on now. But I love them. The Werewolf 12-inch Jerusalem. God, I used to love singing along with that. It's fucking brilliant.
I've still got one of them. I can't remember which one it is now. I've definitely got a UK Decay. I've still got a copy of For My Country 7-inch.
Right, okay. I'd never liked For My Country that much, but I've got that. For Mad Men Only is a great album. But again, you're slipping into kind of semi-goth territory with that. It's dark storytelling more than political posturing.
That was a definite. See, that's a definite link between punk and goth. I think UK Decay.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Jot that one down. We'll do that when we do goth.
Well, when I edit all of this, when I slave over a mixing desk editing all, I'll make a note of all the bands that are mentioned, so we don't miss anybody. Because I think on every one of our podcasts so far, we've probably missed 1 or 2 bands that have been mentioned.
Oh, absolutely,
But they'll get cropping up again.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I picked up Live at Central Iberico. Thought this is bloody great, and musically and ideologically and stylistically, great similarities with Crass. So straight away, I was going to love them. That was a given. So it's anarchy, peace, freedom, love, and all of that lot. But particularly anti-vivisection, because lead singer Colin Jerwood was absolutely passionate about animal liberation front and anti-vivisection movements. Even though the drummer Paco was a meat eater, so again, like we said with Discharge, where Cal was absolutely laser focused on anti-war and anti-nuclear, and the rest of the band were not so much. You got in Conflict again. You got the singer here whose main passion was animal rights, and yet he was happy to play with drummer who was a meat eater. But all inclusive. So brilliant band, and their relationship with Crass was incredibly close. Not just the style, the ideology, sharing the stage all the time, and so on, going on the label. But as I said earlier, Conflict started their own label, More to Hate. Amongst bands on there was a fantastic Icons of Filth, who were signed to More to Hate, and they would play Crass songs, much to Crass's delight. Steve Ignorant actually became a member of Conflict in the latter 90s, and he became their second singer for a considerable time. So they were almost like Crass Conflict supergroup kind of thing going on. And I only saw Conflict once. I saw Crass a few times, but I only saw Conflict once, and that was with Crass. So they were exceptionally close. Colin obviously extraordinarily sadly died earlier this year. But he already lost an eye. Well, he hadn't lost an eye, but he'd had an eye badly damaged right at the start of their career. And there's talking about those kind of right-wing hate groups that would turn up to anarchist gigs, and Conflict were one of the targets that they chose to turn up at, and Jerwood not one to back down ever, and he got bottled in the eye. They hit him around the head with a bottle and then rammed the broken bottle in his eye, which was particularly nasty. It sliced the top of his eye off, and I think he'd left with some partial vision, but fascid skinheads and tossers. Yeah, what can you say?
Wankers.
But great band. Terrible that life's been ended, but what a lot of material left behind that is just fantastic. Just fantastic sound, fantastic lyrics, and a history of fantastic gigs, even though I only saw them once.
Yeah, I never saw they played it in Cambridge last year, and again I already had tickets to see something else down in London, so I couldn't go. But yeah, I love Conflict. They were a great band. I remember that first Crass EP, and I mean especially Increase the Pressure, my favourite Conflict album. Although it's only one side of a record, isn't it? The other side is a live record of a live show. Yeah, but that was my favourite Conflict album. It's a fantastic LP. Yeah, good choice. Yeah. Good choice. Cool. So my last one, I hummed and hawed about this, and I
do we need a drum roll?
my final for Punk 76 to 82, Splodginess Abounds. Yeah, ooh, I know.
Okay, yes, I know. Yes,
but
okay.
That album is fucking brilliant. It's so funny. For context,
did they only do one album?
They did lots, but I'm only picking the rest of them were a bit shit. It's very much so. For context, Splodginess Abounds were kind of part of the Oi movement. They were a punk band, part of the Oi movement, but they were also a bit of a comedy punk band. But the first LP and the first few singles are really funny. They still make me laugh. And and I did think long and hard, and I just thought, oh, fuck it, I'm going to just bang it in because I can do what I want because it's my fucking podcast. Well, obviously it's yours as well, but you know. So they started off the first single was 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, which
remember that
everybody
one.
knows.
That's the only one I can remember, so I'm looking forward to revealing the others.
The second one was Simon Templar, which was that was a parody of the Saint theme.
Yeah.
And had lines such as Simon Templar is so hunky, all his birds are very funky. And Simon's got a hairy chest. He goes to bed without his vest on, and and kind of punk versions of. They also they did a cover of Two Little Boys.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
God! Oh God! How many
cover
levels is that wrong on?
I know. But we didn't know about Rolf being a fiddler back then. Which and it is a great cover. It's a really good cover. I was talking to my friend Hannah about this week when I was researching. I'm doing like quotation marks. When I was researching, I listened to it, and my girls both loved. I used to sing them songs every night before they went to sleep, and one of them we used to sing. Where they go, Dad, sing Two Little Boys. So I had to sing those Two Little Boys. Well, the Splodge version, when they go. Up goes a shout. Everyone goes, oi!
Oh yeah.
So when I used to sing it, and I used to sing, up goes a shout, and I'd leave a gap, and both my little girls would go, oi! And it was really, really funny. They did one more single around that era, which was lots of Western covers, but the album.
Western covers? What do you mean?
High Noon, Bonanza, Ghost Riders in the Sky.
I don't know that one. I know. Okay.
But the first album, Splodgeness Abounds, is just fucking brilliant. It's just so funny. There's a song about Coronation Street called Anarchy, Chaos, Stanley Ogden. There's a song about a female plumber. From London NW10. There's and the CD version has all of the singles, all the B-sides, and they did a one of them there was a flexi disc, and they did a cover of the Hawaii 5/0 theme, and I have been playing that on and off for 45 years. And it still makes me fucking laugh every time I listen to it. It still makes me chuckle. So I think I'm well within my rights to add Splodgeness Abounds to this because we could have gone anywhere. We could have gone, Anti Nowhere League.
The good band.
We could have done Pete and the Test Tube Babies.
Yeah,
we could have done. All manner. We could have had Blitz.
There's hundreds of them.
Blitz,
yeah,
Exploited, Congen, yeah,
Antipasti, D-Mob,
yeah,
Chaos UK,
Disorder, you name it.
They're my number 10.
Oh, fuck me. I've just ruined the surprise. How dare I?
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But,
to be honest, I've got a number 10, and I had one backup, and it was somebody we mentioned before. We've not actually had them as a separate section, but again, it was like, well, they haven't had a separate section on their own. They've just been mentioned before, and they ought to be on a list. It was Killing Joke, but I kind of plumped for Disorder anyway, because I think Killing Joke, as fabulous as they are, they've cropped up already. They'll probably crop up again because they're
absolutely,
that kind of band.
Because they're one of both of us. They're one of both of us' favourite bands of all time. So
absolutely, yeah.
So that's Splodgeness Abounds. I love Splodgeness Abounds. I mean, after that album, I just think it. There's nothing I really want to listen to after that first LP and those singles. Nah. but for a moment in time, a listen to that. And I think, like I said, that the thing is that they are still funny. The songs were genuinely funny. And the problem with most comedy punk bands, is you listen to it a couple of times and you think, fucking hell, But I think their songs on that album and around that time, I just think they stand the test of time, and I still think they're funny, and they sound brilliant, and they're really good musicians as well.
Yeah,
It's musically, it's very, very impressive. There's reggae, there's parody dub songs. There's a couple of questionable accents in there, and some there is some mild sexism, and there's a fucking Rolf Harris cover. But apart from that, it like I say, it just still makes me laugh. It's like the punk equivalent of Police Squad. You could just watch it. Oh, and you'll always laugh. You always find something that you've forgotten that you'll laugh at again. So yeah. So Fabulousness abounds. I make no apologies.
Okay, well, that was a surprise. That was a shocker out there, I've got to say. Okay, well, I'm not shocking because you already know what my number 10 is.
Is it Disorder?
What a guess! Yes, it's Disorder.
Three.
Disorder, and Disorder. Their first few records, at very least, are to punk what I think bottle surfers are to rock. It's so loose and ragged and feels like everybody's pissed and nobody knows what they're doing and nothing's polished. The sound is completely scuzzed out, fried and unbalanced. Lots of screaming and shouting on top of this mad, frantic, loose, high-speed playing. It's brilliant.
I always thought it sounded like Discharge. They just come out of the pub.
Yeah, that's about the
after
size
an
of it.
all-day session. on cider, strong cider.
Exactly right.
But they were cider punks, weren't they? Wasn't that what all that lot? They were Bristol, weren't they?
They're from Bristol, so they could well be cider
I'm sure there was like were Chaos UK got lumped in with them, didn't they? And I think they were cider punks. They used to just drink and drink and drink, and they were proper always fucked out their heads.
They certainly give that sound. It all seems totally back of the fag packet, as you say. Just come out of the pub. Look, there's some instruments over there. Fuck it, let's have a go.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I got Distortion to Deafness, which was their first record. Again,
that's the black cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got that from Keith as well. Yeah.
Strange town march. But what a noise!
That was glorious, wasn't it? Glorious.
Absolutely. And again, despite the references you could make with other bands, they didn't sound like anybody else really in what they were doing. It all sounded live, all sounded spontaneous and fantastic. Battered. First album, Under a Scalpel Blade, is good, but again, bad production.
Yeah.
The sound isn't just thin, but the drums and bass are all, I don't know, hyper clean and at the front, and the guitar's totally washed out. So it's listenable. Of course, it's a fine piece of music, badly reproduced kind of thing. Like you're listening to a great record through a fish tank or something. It's just unfair. Then their second album, I don't have the second album, but that was an album that was recorded on a Walkman, which probably doesn't sound an awful lot better. But they're great. It's fantastic. I've carried on through different lineups, and they might well still be going. I had a quick look online, and they did have an album out in 2018, so they did carry on for a while. But I don't think there's anything much beyond that.
No, I think I've got a vinyl singles collection of theirs.
Oh, right.
Which obviously is worth having because they were the best bits. Well, two EPs. They did 3 EPs.
Well, in the early 80s, there were probably 4 up to Mental Disorder. So you got Complete Disorder, Distortion to Deafness, and then there was a 12-inch called Perdition. So
I'm pretty sure that was the content. I'll have to see if I can find it later on.
Yeah.
I'll probably forget. I've said that out loud. I'll probably forget.
Anyway, their third album, One Day Son, All This Will Be Yours, in 1986, that was actually a split album with a Norwegian punk band by the name of Kafka Process. I don't know what happened to Kafka Process, and I'm not really sure why I didn't look into them further, because actually that live set, the Kafka Process side is a live set, it's actually pretty good. So where they are, what they're doing, who knows? Disorder, in some ways, the Disorder sound is a replication sonically of my memory. It's just this blur of noise of it. Can't make out what the fuck is
every now and again there's something intelligible comes out.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm going to use Disorder, indeed the Butthole Surfers, as my analogy for memory.
Yeah. Oh, I do miss youth. I miss not having hair in my fucking ears. That's what I just... Jesus, that's fucking annoying. Up my nose, fucking stupid long bloody eyebrows and all that shit. You know, what do you miss most about being young? Less fucking hair.
At least you kept some on your head, eh?
That is very true.
It's good. Nice to have some hair on your head, unlike me.
Yeah, very true, very true. So that's us done on punk rock. There are probably 1,000 other bands we could have picked. In fact, just while you were thinking that, I thought, Dead Wretched, Dead Man's Shadow, Action Pact,
Dead Man's Shadow,
The Disruptors,
Action Pact, yeah.
You know, there were some
the
great
Verucas,
bands.
the Vibrators, the Violators, anything beginning with a V.
Yeah, absolutely. Vice Squad.
Yeah. Vice Squad,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Becky Bondage.
That's a strange thing. Becky Bondage,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeepers. Yeah, there were some crackers. There's a couple of Blitz singles that were amazing.
Yeah.
Dead Wretched? No Hope for you, no hope for anyone. That was a great one as well. Yeah. Oh God, I mean, we can always reconvene in a 6 months and do a
maybe
slightly more shit punk bands than the first class or something. You know. So okay. Well, look. We'll leave it there and we'll sign off. As usual, any comments welcome, especially from you, Jim, and Pod's probably Jimmy, and Jackie, if you can remember about those Susan the Banshees tickets, that would be great. We'll think of another. I mean, this is.
We'd had another task for Neil as well. I can't remember what that was, but I'm sure we will hear it in lesson. Yeah.
Find the find the snippet about the Stranglers being in.
That's right.
In March.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. Well,
it's nice to have a podcast that issues the tasks to all of your audience.
Yes, we like the crystal maze of podcasts. But with no prizes. Other than new episodes and your name in lights or something. I'll do one of my shit videos and I'll name everybody. Okay. Say, thanks Jim, thanks Jackie. That would be awesome. So this is the end of our 2-parter on punk rock. This was part 2. Enjoy, and we will see you all soon.